Well, greetings, everyone. Welcome. I'm Linda Cry, host for the Business Spotlight series with Action Coach XL Edge. And today we are going to meet Tim Brummels and hear a bit about him. So, Tim, first of all, thank you for taking out some time of your busy schedule to spend with us today.
You're welcome.
Well, let's find out a little bit about you. Tell us who you are, what you're about, what is your work, and maybe a little bit about why you got into your work.
Yeah, Tim Brummels again. I am the CEO and president of Synbiotic Health. Synbiotic Health is a unique company in that it was built on a foundation of science by four researchers who've spent their life studying the gut microbiome and how food and exercise and um, people's habits affect your health, especially as you age. Specifically, we look at the microbiome and try to understand the probiotics that are naturally found within the human gut and how they interact in an array of different health outcomes. If we could find that, it's an interesting company. It's like I said, over 100 years of lifelong scientific research. The company was formed about 5 years ago, and I was brought in because my background is in building commercial companies from the ground up. And so they asked me to join them and help develop some of the products that they had discovered and bring those products to a commercial marketplace. So that's what we've been doing for the last 4 years. This includes things like FDA, regulatory clearance, human clinicals, and then marketing and sales efforts. But it's all about gut health.
Sounds like something important to all of us, right? To leave a full life.
Yeah, very much. So
Beautiful.
I think probably coming post-COVID, consumers are more aware today with the idea that COVID made an awareness to consumers about immune health. Most consumers have learned that 70% of your innate immune system is housed within your gut. So you have a innate immune system and an adaptive immune system, but that innate immune system starts right in your gut. And so if people are really learning, hey, I got to take care of my physical body, I got to have good heart health, but now I need good gut health. And that's a combination of exercise, great food habits, and really understanding that if you've not practiced good gut health, you probably need some supplementing of probiotics that can assist in at least, we can't say that we heal anybody because we're not pharmaceutical, but what we can say is we try to extend lifelong health and wellness by great supplementation, because as you age, metabolic disorders do impact you, and they're basically linked back to the gut. And if we live in a very antibiotic society. Antibiotics by nature kill bacteria. The bacteria in your gut die off, and they're very critical to health and well-being.
Yeah, you're right. I think more people are mindful of that these days. Now, that's your product, and I'm just curious about is your market B2B, in other words, business to business and/or business directly to consumers, or what is your marketing strategy for your ideal client then for your product?
So this is one of the things that we learned when you've got a bunch of academic scientists who are extremely honored in the world for their research, but you first have to take a look at the products you have and then see where they fit. In most cases, we will probably do B2B. There are a few cases where we may do some direct B2C, just because we have some products that we haven't released yet, but we've been working on for a while that are completely unique in this space, and where probiotics has grown in the industry for 10 years at double digits, and it's a huge market and continues to grow. The thing about probiotics is that the new products coming on the market show these method of actions, they call them. In other words, instead of just, I'm taking it for digestive discomfort or reasons, I might be taking it for gut to brain health, gut to heart health. You know, we have food intolerance things that we're working on in clinicals. So very pinpointed research where people can take the product and know they feel better.
Nice. So you're on the pro side of it. So it's not the health model isn't that something happens and there's symptoms to treat. You're trying to get on the front end of it in preventive and connect
That's
that
correct.
health. Yeah,
Yeah.
love it. Love it. So what would be, have you found as you are supporting this business entity and growing it in the marketing world, what are some of the challenges that you're bumping into these days?
Well, there's multiple challenges that obviously have affected us. One challenge is it's a high growth market and COVID just enhanced the growth.
Mhm.
That tightens your supply chains and the bigger companies keep buying the small companies. So it's a very hard industry. It's very capital intensive to break into. Science is not a quick profit. So you have investors who, hey, I'd like to get in and get out. Sometimes it takes 5 years to develop something, and it's, we patent things, but it's a long-term strategy. So you then get products started on the market, and you're a small company and you've got some good small opportunities, but even the bigger companies fire great customers in the market by, when I say fire, they basically say, you're not big enough for us, we'll put you at the end, and people just wait and wait and wait. So challenges, it's led to other opportunities. We spun a company off called Novia Health this last year, which is helping bring formulation products to the market for small and medium-sized companies. So those challenges all can be met, but they all require different things. So I sit on the board of Novia Health and the board of Synbiotic Health, but these are things that we have to face to help get our products to the market.
Sure, for sure. And as people do life together and their priorities start shifting, and of course we've seen some of that post-COVID. What do you think has been one of the maybe surprises, the positives out of working with the team that you support and maybe the different hats that they wear? What has been a key to adapt to the change that's been in front of you that you may have needed?
So I'm going to make sure, I'm going to let you ask me that question maybe a slightly different way because I'm not sure I understood it
So that,
totally.
yeah, no, fair enough. The change that you would have experienced with this company, let's say post-COVID, and the different hats that maybe the business owners needed to wear, or even the investors, right?
Right.
How did you
So,
bring them along in their change readiness?
yeah. So it's interesting when you start a company. I'm gonna answer it in an indirect way a little bit. When you start a company, most companies fail
Mhm.
because they don't realize how many hurdles you might have. In fact, great investors in startups and companies that burn cash before they can be EBITDA accretive. Um, Most companies run out of cash. They underestimate the time to market and things like that. So, some of my experience has been that could be the case. So some of the challenges are, though, there's still things unknown to us, right? We think we have a good idea, we think we have a good product, but how do you get it to the market? There are all kinds of, I call them hurdles, right? I would say most people come to the market thinking they've got checked every box. And I've always tell people when I coach them, hey, look it, if you can, on a brand new startup, if you can give me the 7 major hurdles you got to accomplish to be successful, I guarantee you 5 of them will be wrong. You'll have new hurdles that are created. So it's kind of really doing that. How that's related to what we're doing, our challenges is when, just being super market aware, super um, aware of what's going on in the market and what's going on with our team in the development is adjusting extremely fast. So if we miss something, we adjust. We don't, and then we make our investors know, hey, this is where we thought. We've learned a few things. Do you agree? Do you not agree? And we've had great investor support for that. So, but I've never seen a company check a box and say, I had 5 hurdles, I accomplished all 5, and I never had anything else that popped up. It's
Right.
unheard of.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think,
discovery process. That's what we
yeah,
talk about. Yeah.
yeah,
And discovering what's next. And the whole idea around change resistance. And I think, entrepreneurs have a hunger for that. they look for the opportunities, and they, seize the moment. And sometimes bringing a team along is part of the challenge. So you reference that. What do you look for as you're advising team building? And, do you hire to a certain set of values, or what's the key? What's the strategy?
Yeah. So with the team, I think the three critical things I look for is probably a braided aspect that I pick up on. Um, I look for people that are very quick to listen, not suggesting that they want to respond really quickly back. People who listen, who ask questions, who seem to be teachable.
Mhm.
Um, I call it that factor of learning, because even I today, I'm as old as I am, and I'm old. It's I can tell you, you never stop learning. Second thing I look for is people with a really good outlook on life and outlook on which is going to affect the team. And I call it the team player understanding. Are they capable of coming in, wearing a lot of hats, being part of the team, but not having to be the highlight of the team? Knowing that, I love coaching sports, and I consider that the quarterback might get the highlight, but the lineman did the job, right? So I need people who understand their role, they foster that development, they're willing to play part of the team. And then I look for people who are freely able to share their opinion openly. I don't look for yes people. I want people who have the ability, with the risk-free environment of sharing, and I cultivate that by maybe some of the biggest misconceptions that you might find in business, and that is, as a CEO, I think people think you have all the answers and you know everything. And what I do is I bring people in and I try to empower them and,
Mhm.
and let them know right away, right up front, I'm going to tell you what my weaknesses are. And I want you to know the reason I'm going to tell you my weaknesses is because I hired you to be my strength. And I want you to cultivate that environment. When I point out your weaknesses, adapt to them, understand that we're here to be your strength, to glue everybody together. So I don't have all the answers. I have a team I've hired to help me find all the answers to execute.
Mhm.
And, I look for people who then can share with me open, free, and riskfully. Hey, can I suggest that when we were in that meeting, you interrupted somebody and you didn't listen, and critique me? I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
Or to come in and say, hey, I completely disagree with what we're doing. However, if the team agrees to it, I'm going to be on board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the team alignment is a big one, and we work in that space as well, because most people, when they're really clear on the vision, they want to get on board with the greater good, and yet not be micromanaged. And yet, if we don't have them aligned and they start drifting off, then that's up to us as leaders in an organization. Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. I like the idea of hiring their strength to come on board, and then the team becomes stronger for sure, no doubt. Love
Yeah.
that. Love that. What about turnover retention? What are you finding? What are motivating people these days?
Yeah. So for us, it's interesting. We've hired 20 people and we've only lost two. Um, Both of them were a concern upon hire because we're a high-risk entrepreneurial company. We really liked their skill set, but we were concerned during the interview if they could make it, and both exited within about a year because it was too stressful. But
Mhm.
that's something that we hope to have cultivated. That we shared it with them before we hired them. Um, so tenure has been really, really good. I think that the, the key thing is we're pretty honest with people when we hire them. We let them know where we're at. We're not profitable. We're executing science. We have vision to be profitable. It is a high risk job. So we also let them know what our values are, what are really statements of what I would call impacting values, being a team player, being conscious. One of the things that I share with them is my own business vision, which is that The most important job I can have is to make sure that I bring our investors a return,
Mhm.
but not at the expense of
Right.
not taking care of our customers, and not at the expense of taking care of vendors, and not at the expense of taking care of our employees. And certainly not at the expense of social and environmental understanding. And so I said, those 5 pillars, no one's greater than the other. They all have to meld together. And we want to have a community that we foster that environment that could, I let them know that, hey, I use a bus analogy all the time, and I'd say, this is our bus. If you get on a bus and we're going from 42nd Street to 80th Street, you know when you get on that bus, that's where you're going. This is our bus. This is where we're going. So we want you on board. If you don't like where we're going, you shouldn't be on board. You should go where you like to enjoy life, but this is our bus.
Mhm. Yeah, step up or step out, and that's either are acceptable as long as they're
Yeah,
honest with themselves. Yes.
yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Love that. When you bring somebody on the team for the first time, let's talk about, the onboarding process. What does that look like in your organization?
So we share our company's vision, focus, values, where we're at, where we're going. Like I say, the bus. We really spend some time onboarding them and having them greet people, understanding what different roles and responsibilities are. And key thing is accountability.
Mhm,
You need to understand that they're going to be accountable. I
mhm.
think that's probably something that's the hardest thing that I've had to learn in life, is to hold people accountable, because I'm a fairly gracious guy. But if you don't hold people accountable, they just don't, they seem they got a free ticket.
Mhm. Yeah. And what we found, and I'm sure you have as well, the closer that people are to the work, when you bring them along in that, as you called empowerment, or even the decision-making process, they will support that which what they co-create, right? They will. When they can see their fingerprints on it, they will make sure that it's successful. So do you use any process excellence tools, the Six Sigma or lean methodologies? What do you use for continuous improvement?
Yeah. So what because we're FDA compliant and FDA certified, and we have some CGMP issues, lots of our training, we can identify some issues early on, because they got to go through 2 or 3 days of training, right? Things that you can and can't do, and what you can and can't do. So I think I'm going to answer this question, but I hope I didn't dodge it. But we can identify by discussion, what do you think about our processes? Get some feedback. What do you think about, would you, do they ask a lot of questions? Why do you do certain ways? Because, we work with bacteria. So bacteria is highly FDA regulatory, because you could get bad bacteria in the food chain, you could poison people. So there are immense amounts of what you call standard operating procedures,
Right?
and you have to follow the procedure. There are no shortcuts, but it lends to the messaging that these are your responsibilities and you're going to be accountable for it, just like the company is responsible to be FDA compliant in our audits. Does that make sense? Did
Mhm,
I answer
mhm.
your question?
Yes, so you use there are outside imposers that have regulating criteria that create our standards, our standard operating procedures, and for process improvement as we make things even better, which is what I was looking for, is, once you put something in motion and maximize and optimize it, then how do you make it even better? And with your research and development, it sounds like you've got that well underway as well.
And then we're trying to foster an environment where people can make recommendations, be honored for it, However, some recommendations are really good. We don't ever want to make a recommendation that doesn't work look bad. We want the person to understand why it's non-compliant with things we have to do.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of like raising a child, right? You don't discipline a child for being disobedient if they didn't understand they were supposed to do something.
The
You
learning.
you would discipline them for being defiant. That is, I understood it and I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's big about the lifelong learning. A lot of folks, we find there's fear in the organization because they don't want to get somebody in trouble. And it's like understanding that dynamic is one where creating a culture, we should be learning from everything. The only failure really is one chooses not to participate. Everything
Yeah.
else we can learn from. And if we've got that learning attitude and you're creating that hunger, you really got a high performing team for sure.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because we have a top management, we call it our level 10 weekly meeting. We have
Yeah,
our, we
yeah,
look at our weekly objectives, or we're meeting our quarterly, and then we look at our issue list where we spend most of the time in. People can kind of see there's some heated differences, and we want to express. We don't want a bunch of yes men. We
for
want to
sure.
say, what are the issues? What's the resolve? Who's going to resolve it? And and sometimes what we find, and the one reason I like the EOS system better than anything is because it focuses on issues, and they don't become just a bucket of did that get resolved? Did that get resolved? But we find that sometimes one issue creates three new issues,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just getting the tip of the iceberg,
Yeah.
but let's cut the roots out, right?
Yeah, let's get to the systemic issues. What are they? Yeah, love it. So what do you do to stay energized and refreshed and spirited and keep your learning alive? Personally, what
Well,
do you do?
yeah. So for me, for me, 2 weeks in Cabo was great. No, I'm just
For
kidding.
sure, that'll do it.
To me, I just had great business mentors in my life, and I learned early on that there's probably four basic areas of life to stay refreshed and focused and not burn out. Because running, and especially high growth entrepreneurial businesses that burn cash, and you're going to make mistakes. So for me, you still have to have a balance, and I call it there's a spiritual balance, and whether people like it or not, everybody believes in something,
Mhm.
and that's your moral compass. And no matter what you'd say, whatever you believe in becomes your moral compass. And to me, the best mentors and the most successful individuals I've seen may not be the wealthiest, but they're the people who had a balance between spiritual life, physical life, getting some exercise, eating well, diet, rest. They have a great family life, whether they've been in a broken family or not. What I mean by that is they're responsible to those that are around them in their family. They mentor them, and they're trying to pass the baton to the next generation.
Mhm.
There's obviously the fourth area is the work life. And I told you my 5 pillars about taking care of investors, customers, vendors, employees, and our environmental impacts to that.
Mhm.
But the key thing I tell people is that a statement I've heard a couple times in my life that I've written it down, and it's something I follow. Change is inevitable, growth is optional.
Yeah.
So people don't like change, right? I noticed your pillow, grateful, thankful, and blessed. You have to have that positive attitude that says change is going to come. How am I going to grow from it? We may think we have the right plan and the right this, and we find out, man, customers are not buying this message. Okay, great. Learn from it and grow. Change is inevitable, growth is optional.
Yeah.
And it's hard because the most human nature, and this is what we try to instill in our employees from the day we interview them, that we're a rapidly evolving company. There's a lot of changes that are going to happen, things that we don't foresee, things that we're going to miss the target on. But the adaptability with thankfulness, I'm glad I learned it, and not pointing the finger and looking back.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I keep balance, right?
It's good. It's, work-life integration for us, and that coming from a place of gratitude does open a lot of possibilities too. So I can feel that balance for you. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I'm not going to say it's always there. I travel a lot, then I start not exercising, and then I don't feel as well, or I don't get as much rest. But I do think I tell people we have vacation policy for a reason. Go take
Mhm.
your vacation.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but the empowerment of employees with the balance of accountability, knowing you're empowered but you're accountable, and that you want them to be a team player. We try to team player as in not that you might not get noticed, right?
Mhm.
Um, but just do your job, just like the FDA. You might think it's ridiculous that you got to wash your hands every time you enter and exit the bacteria room, but you got to do it.
Yeah,
You just
absolutely.
have to do it,
Yep,
right?
absolutely. I'm curious about if you had advice for your younger self, Tim. as you think back? What would that be? What would be advice to your younger self?
So I do mentor some young business guys right now that have reached out to me, and I don't know why, because I'm not sure I have a lot to offer, but I start with, I want you to understand something. Do you believe that change is inevitable? And if you believe that it's going to happen, it's what are you going to do with the change?
Mhm.
Because if you miss that mark, and this is where I start, the great advice. The other thing I do is I ask them about the balance of their life. Some people work to live, some people live to work.
Yeah.
And what I'd say is you should love your job. You should love what you're doing. And if you don't like it, you should leave. Go find something. If it's less money, go change your lifestyle, but do something you love to do, because that's why you wake up in the day. And probably the third thing is that, the thing that I think is really important for people to see is they have a value contribution. It only takes one person to change the world.
Mhm.
And you don't have to be notoriety. We live in a very individualistic society, Facebook and Twitter, and everybody wants to be in the limelight. But the goal this is why I tell you it's a spiritual thing. You believe in something, you believe in yourself. You have the power to change the world. You can make life better for just one person in your life. That's the reason to do it, right? But if it's just all about me, first of all, there's probably going to be a lot of struggles. Yeah, in my environment, anyway, I don't mean to make it sound that way, but I don't know if you've heard the term before, there are joy suckers. Joy suckers are the people in the room that suck all the joy out of the room. And we don't terminate those people. I mean, we've had to terminate one person in 5 years, and they just didn't want to be a team player. But that takes the joy out of the project.
Yeah. And life is too short.
Yeah,
One of our core values is to make sure we're having fun along the way as well. So, because business should give you more life instead of suck the life right out of you, as you're saying. So, I hear
yeah.
you. We could talk all day. I think we'll have to schedule a coffee time, Tim, and chat some more. I just wanted to, first of all, say thank you for sharing some insights with us today. And I'm sure that those that are listening are going to get some great value from some of the things that you've shared. And just continue to wish you the best as you stay in this space of helping us all become healthier individuals, body, mind, spirit, and getting that gut health aligned, right?
Yep. Well, thank you. Happy to discuss further. If I find myself retiring, I might call you.
Hey,
I,
there
I
we
like,
go.
I like coaching. I see myself, that's what I'll do when I retire.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.